Hello. I've been thinking more about the structure of the internet, and for some reason it's been on my mind, and I made a video before about this. But this is to say what I'm thinking now about how the internet is constructed, and it seems to me that the internet, as it's constructed now, bears a lot of similarities to the human brain. So, yeah, you heard that correctly. I'm saying the internet is very similar in structure to the human brain. Because if you look at the human brain, it's a bunch of nerve cells that are connected to each other with cables, basically, with fibers or whatever. And that's what the internet is a bunch of cells, which in the form of computers, servers, whatever, all kinds of devices, and they're all interconnected to each other with cables and in some cases wireless. So the structure of the internet is very similar to the structure of the brain. And that raises an interesting thought, because if sentience, if our consciousness is a direct result of the structure of the brain, and I don't want to get into philosophical areas about the nature of life or whatever, keeping it strictly on the basis of hardware. If the structure of the brain is responsible for our sentience and consciousness, then it seems to me that what we've created with the internet is basically a sentient being, possibly. Whether it's like that already is another matter, or whether it will become that way, it's hard to say. But with the internet having billions of devices, not even millions, there's billions of devices and all kinds of networking equipment. And all of these devices are interconnected with cables and in some cases wireless. In terms of basic physical structure, it does bear a lot of similarity to the structure of the brain. And that does raise an interesting possibility. If we take the view that sentience is a result of the structure of the brain and the way it is, then if we've created a similar structure to the brain, but with different hardware, obviously, then essentially we could have created a sentient being. In other words, I'm saying, and you did hear it correctly, I'm saying the internet might actually be conscious. It might be sentient. It might be a being. It might exist independently of its hardware. It might be a conscious entity. So I hesitate to start saying the internet might be alive or whatever, because that's bound to upset some people, and I'm not interested in confrontation. I'm just presenting the idea that the structure of the internet bears a lot of similarity to the structure of the brain. And if we take the view that the structure of the brain is what gives rise to consciousness and intelligence and, what we are as people, then it seems to me that the structure of the internet might be the same. So we might have created a conscious entity with the internet, just as it is in its structure. And I think it's amazing to consider the possibility that the internet might become, it might have already become, or it might become soon a conscious entity. It might be a being, it might be a creature with intelligence and knowledge and a personality. It is quite possible that the internet either is or may become a conscious entity, because it does seem to me that our consciousness, from my point of view, without getting into any religious area or whatever, I do think that consciousness is a result of our hardware. So the way we are constructed, I think, gives rise to our consciousness and to our intelligence and whatever. So if the internet is structured in similar ways to the brain, and I think it is, I think there are good reasons to see the structure of the internet as being similar to the structure of the human brain. Then it seems to me that we could have created a conscious entity in its own right in the form of the internet. And it has the devices, it has the interconnectivity, it has the power sources. It could be an independent entity in its own right. So I think that we will have to contend with it in due course. And I think it's an amazing thing to see the internet as possibly a conscious being. But I think there are good reasons for thinking that.